Hello, I am Ahmed Elnaggar, and this is Monday Legal. My guest today is Yousef Al Amly from GLA Co. He is partner, merger and acquisition, and capital markets. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Ahmed, for having me today. It's really a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much for coming. A very quick introduction about Yousef. He is a dual qualified from UK and Egypt, and he has been practicing law for the last 17 years. At least a decade of them is in the UAE. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Ahmed.
What is your coffee?
I like my coffee with milk, and I drink it every day. I cannot start my work without having my first cup of coffee. It comes as part and parcel of what I do on a regular basis.
Nice. And where do you get it? Do you get the coffee in the office, or you do it at home yourself, or you buy it?
Well, my wife has to.
Okay, so she knows the right ingredients and doses of everything.
Yeah, the doses of sugar has to be
Okay.
very low. A strong coffee with milk.
Yousef, did you choose to be a lawyer, or were you pushed in it? Tell me, how did this happen?
Well, I'm the first generation in my family. Since I was in school, I wanted to become a lawyer. It was a first choice for me. I got a very high score during my high school exams, and I was one of the. I was the third in my class. But still, law was my first choice. For some reason, I liked it. I wanted to be a corporate M&A lawyer from day one. I got excited about reading about the transactions happening, and I felt that I want to be part in it. Bad in math, but I can memorize very easily. So
I think bad in math is one of the most stereotypes about lawyers, that we are all very bad in math.
I am bad with numbers. I'm very bad with numbers when it comes to geometry, statistics, all of that. That's not my that's not my thing.
Right. Can you share with me a little bit of how hard was it, the journey to be a first generation lawyer? Because my experience was completely different. You know, my dad is a lawyer, my 3 elder sisters are lawyers. I grew up in a law firm. I was 7 years old. I was in a law firm already. I've seen it. I lived it. I know how it works. But if you're a first generation lawyer, how did this go?
It was quite challenging. So I can say this, not being guided is quite difficult because you don't know which route you should take. Should you go become a public prosecutor, judge, take that route, become a criminal lawyer, become a commercial or corporate lawyer, and having someone as a mentor or as a guidance, at least to understand the pros and cons of each path you choose to take, will help you a lot making your decision. But figuring out yourself is quite challenging. But given that I had already decided what I want to do with my life and with my career, it made things easier to focus on exactly my goals and to drive that way.
What drive you to all this education?
Well, I can say that I knew all about this by experience and by meeting other people and learning what they're doing or what exactly I need to do. Or I felt what I need to do really with when it came to sharpening my skills. I can say this, school didn't really develop us in the right way to be corporate lawyers in the sense that we are doing at the moment. We had to figure out everything ourselves. There was a lot of self-education. There was a lot of taking risks, meeting and speaking with other senior people who would give you an idea, but it's all up to you to decide what you want to do with your life. So that means that you have to invest a lot in yourself, study a lot, speak about your experience with other people and see how they look at it from a fresh perspective, and see what's happening in the world and just try to adopt it or mirror it in a certain way. And you end up
I agree
being
with you.
yourself.
It's hard work.
It is a lot of hard work.
It is a lot of hard work, and no one is successful just by chance. That's for sure.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
What did it add into your career?
That's an excellent question. When I came to Dubai, the first thing I noticed is that employers would usually ask for someone who's common law qualified. I didn't get or understand why is that a mandatory requirement. Honestly, after finishing my qualification in the UK, I got to know the answer myself. Yes, it was a quite expensive one. There was a lot of hard work behind it, but I can tell you this: in the UK and the US, the newly qualified lawyers, or what they call NQ lawyers, they are well prepared to meet the client requirements. In M&A or in corporate, in property, criminal, civil, they are being trained from day one to take instructions from clients, to file a lawsuit, to attend at the police station, to write a contract, understand the different legal concepts, and that's not by chance. They are developed in that way. So if you look at the exams for being to become a UK qualified lawyer or solicitor, you need to be tested in 18 different subjects. They are not all legal, but they are related to legal. Some of them are related to legal, and some of them are core to the legal understanding. So if you look at it, you are being tested in money laundering, taxation, solicitor's account, professional conduct. These are not directly related, but these are things that lawyers have to be equipped with.
Of course.
In addition to that, you look at the other topics that you're being tested at, whether it's contract, trust, property, criminal law, business law, different areas of law, but a lawyer has to have very strong, good understanding about the legal concepts in all of these topics. And then that's phase one. If you pass that, you go to phase two, where they test your soft skills in terms of client interview, doing legal research, doing legal writing, drafting, all of that in each of those topics. So you spend like 6 exams, each one of them for 6 hours, discussing one topic or 2 topics maximum. So they test you in business, they test you in criminal law, civil litigation, property, and inheritance and probate. I remember one of my professors, he was talking about how to become a successful lawyer. And that's something I would never forget. He mentioned that to become a successful lawyer, you have to be a T lawyer. So what is a T lawyer? Means that you have to understand each and every area of law, and then come into one of it and just draw a line down to become an expert in that field. That's what it means to be a T lawyer. And I've never forgotten that. That was in my school day. But it's something that I've always kept in mind and worked according to.
Totally agree, and I think it's one of the smartest ways to tell to students of the law. You have to make yourself aware and have a general understanding of every sector of the law, and then you specialize in one. And this takes me to your specialization. Right now, you're one of the famous M&A and capital market lawyers in the UAE. Can you tell us about this, about your specialty a little bit? We need to understand, what does it mean, and who are your clients? Who wants to come and speak to you?
So M&A is something I would say is quite unique practice. It's something that I love working on. It gives me a lot of energy when I know that I'm working on an M&A deal. So M&A is quite unique in this jurisdiction, and I'll tell you why. In Egypt, when you go for an M&A transaction, you have only Egyptian lawyers. In the UK, you go only for English lawyers, right? In Dubai and in the UAE and in this region, the structure is quite a little bit different. So you find a mixture of civil law expertise coming with common law expertise and putting up something that has been I've been through a lot of challenges with the courts, and it took a lot to educate the community over here to understand the concepts. Now, the good thing about becoming a dual qualified lawyer is that you understand where civil lawyers are coming from and common lawyers
Where the common lawyers are coming from, yes.
Exactly.
Because whenever it's a new transaction, you don't know if the lawyer is qualified in UK, in US, Egypt, or Sudan,
Correct.
You never know, because everybody has their own different style of education,
Exactly.
style of experience, and so on. But have the UAE created its own style
It
Yet.
has.
It
It has.
has.
So what you see in deals is you see international law firms joining hands with local law firms,
Right.
and this is I come on the local law side with the international lawyers. So what happens is that the international lawyers would come in with their wealthy experience. They come from the UK or from the US mostly, advising on transactions on how they see it in their jurisdictions. And they see a lot, and they are more experienced because the way the English system works is that they come or they go back in history and they prepare or create something, and in the next one they just don't throw it and just create a new one. They build on that. So their templates and their work had been invested or prepared
They
for
worked
for
on it
centuries.
so many years until it reached where
Exactly.
it is today.
And the UK and the US become having them as the financial hub
Right.
for most of the transactions happening, whether in the US or in Europe, have given them the experience that they have seen it all. Now, when they try to implement that in this region, they need to understand the local part of the deal, which is quite challenging. And you need to you need to have the experience really to take lead on the transaction from that local aspect. Now, you look at this and you need to understand when it comes, for example, in an M&A context, what does it mean a warranty or indemnity? We don't have that in our jurisdiction, and is a civil law jurisdiction, right? But you have that in the DIFC and the ADGM. Having their own code systems where they implement and understand the concept of trust, or they understand the concept of injunctive relief for a specific performance. And now enforcing that on board or mainland, that's quite challenging
That's
as
quite
well.
challenging. Absolutely. Yes, I agree.
So structuring deals in that manner, in that way, you have to have the experience of understanding the common law and the civil law, and mixing that to give your client the value really to go ahead closing their deals. So you come in to bring value. You come in to with your experience, and that's quite important for your clients. If they understand the value that you're bringing in, they will that will bring a lot of protection to your.
They're going to come to you at the beginning, at the initial stage, to structure the deal itself and to do the transaction.
Exactly. So when they would come in with a structure already in their mind, where I would advise on whether or not does it work from a local point of view, or they would just come and request for a proposal on how to structure the deal. Now, the good thing about being a lawyer is that you act as the wise man of the village. So what I mean by that is that you come in, everyone ready with their questions, but they don't have answers, or they have an idea about how it should be done, and you need to actually give them the value
solution
and the solution.
For
And
that.
that's quite difficult, especially if you're starting your career. This is why you need a mentor and you need a coach. But by the time you start learning and by experience, you gain that kind of experience. But as a lawyer, as external counsel, you always have to answer questions.
Is it easier if one of the parties are much bigger than the other?
No.
It doesn't get easier.
Look, I've been involved in transactions where I'm representing small minorities. Like we are talking about 5%, 3%, and I've been involved in transactions where the client is coming in as a private equity shareholder, where they are investing in 20-25%, which is considered a minority, but they come in with as an anchor investor with their experience, a strategic partnership, and therefore have some edge when it comes to the negotiations. And I've been on the other side. For example, I'm working at the moment on a transaction, M&A transaction, where I'm representing the buyer side. And we were asked to start drafting the SPA for that transaction, and we were sending out to the sellers the SPA draft. Now, as someone representing the buyer, I sent out a buyer friendly SPA. Now, being on the, I imagine myself being on the other side receiving that document. I would have never agreed in most of the terms that are there, right? Small transactions are quite more challenging.
Yes, yes, 100%. I agree. Because really, the big investors with the big money and so on, they have already done 50% of job before coming to you.
Correct.
They have the data room, they have the understanding, they have asked the right questions at the right time, so you don't really have to start from scratch. How do you prepare yourself for an important day?
Well, I've been in this you can never imagine, believe me. So, to answer that question, I can tell you this: having stability in your personal life is quite important. I have to give it to my wife. She's a very important person for me. She gives me a lot of energy, a lot of stability, and that's what really matters.
So start at home.
Yes.
So, Yusuf, you told me about yourself, how you prepare yourself, and you feel like your family life and your stable home is already getting you prepared. If someone else who's like a young lawyer coming into the M&A and capital market and would like some advice how to prepare for tough days, because some meetings can take hours and hours, and some weeks you can get no sleep and no social life just because you're involved in a transaction. How can you prepare yourself for a tough transaction?
Okay, so for the younger generation, then. So the younger generation needs to understand that
We are still young, don't get
I
me
am,
wrong.
yeah, I'm
Okay.
with you on that. But
Thank you for this.
let's say the fresh,
junior lawyers.
yeah, the fresh
Okay.
generation. So there are two ways to look at this. The first one is that you have to be in the right place. It might be up to God, luck. I mean, call it whatever you want, but you have to be in the right place. Of course, being in that place at the beginning, learning from your mentor, learning from someone who can really teach you a lot. That's quite important. On the other hand, if you're not in the right place, you have to prepare yourself to be in the right place. And I'll give you a very small story about myself. Not that I'm bragging or anything, but it's quite important to
Oh,
teach.
please brag, because
Yeah,
no one's
yeah.
going to do it for you. You have to brag.
So when I started my career, I was working as an IP lawyer, and there's nothing wrong with being an IP lawyer. But it's for me, it felt like it's a small practice or a small area of the law, and I wanted, as again, because I always wanted to be a corporate lawyer, M&A lawyer. I didn't feel it was right for me. So what I would do in the early morning, because the bus of the company would come and take us from in front of the home till the company. It was quite far. It took almost an hour drive going and 1 hour going back from work. So what I would do during that hour, I would just get the commercial companies law in hand or the civil code, just read. And I've done that for a year. Now, did that help? Yes, it did. Because in my first interview for associate position in the corporate team, I did answer the right questions. I did answer the questions in a right way. That took me to the second step, which was that I wasn't directly in the M&A practice. I was the procedural team. So I did understand companies law, but I didn't learn more about the M&A. So I was in that part of the team. Now, what I would do after I finished my job, I was just roaming around. And one of my great mentors, she just she knew what I was trying to do. So I would just sit next to her, see what she's doing. She would give me a small piece of work. I would do it, learn from it, get a bigger piece, and then a bigger piece, and then a bigger piece.
I see from what you said is a decision, hard work, surround yourself with the right people.
Exactly.
I want to ask you something about the United Arab Emirates. What I see at the moment is that there is a wave of public companies going private. So what is happening? Why is this shift in the last few years? Was this an old vision materializing right now, or this is a wave? Are you seeing more and more IPOs coming up?
Well, look, IPO is quite important for any economy. It means that there is attraction from foreign investors to come and invest. Now, if you look at the IPOs that have been taking place in the past few years, especially in the past two, or this one and the last year specifically, um, it's important to attract institutional investors. Institutional investors means that they come for a long term, and they are interested in what you are selling. I'm talking here about the shares that you are selling to them and the business that you're selling to them, and you are selling only a minority of it.
So this is a sign that the UAE economy is doing really great.
Well, it is, but you look at this and you look at what the UAE has achieved in the past 20, 30 years, it's quite amazing. So IPOs in this region, it's totally different from how IPOs are done in the US and in the UK. So in the US and the UK, IPOs are done because company has reached a certain level where they need to expand. And then that's why they come bring equity investors through the IPO to come and invest in the company, and then they expand in the business. And that's how Facebook, that's how our Meta, that's how Apple have grown, a lot of other companies. In the UK, you find almost on an average between 100 and 140 IPOs a year. That's not the numbers that we have in this jurisdiction, and definitely we're not still close to the market capex of these financial markets. But IPOs in this jurisdiction are indications for how companies have reached a certain level of maturity. So it's a way for the current shareholders or for the founders to buy out some of their business and still maintain control. So if you look at the IPOs that have been done, whether owned by the government or private companies, they are companies that started from zero, literally zero, and reached, and they have expanded in the market. They have reached their the boundaries that they want to reach, and they just want to sell out a very small minority, 10, 15, 20% of the company, and they are getting a lot of money from that. So if you look at the number of, or the value of the IPO for just 20%, that's quite amazing. Tcom for $1 billion dollars, if I'm not mistaken, or one they're selling their business. Look at Americana, look at the other companies. The IPOs here are done because the companies have become mega. They have reached their limits. Sellers want to buy out. Investors are interested because these companies and businesses have shown in their records that they can be sustainable for a long term, and therefore the investors would come invest their money in these companies, knowing that there will be a good IRR on their investment in this share. So it's a very strong indication about how strong the economy in the UAE have grown and have matured to a level where there is really strong interest from international investors to come and invest in the UAE.
Before you worked with GLA, you headed an international group, and you had 50 lawyers.
Actually, more.
Exactly. So how did you do that? How did you manage 50 lawyers? I mean, managing if 5 or 10 in an M&A deal is crazy, but having them as your staff or your team at 50 lawyers plus, what did you do as a leader to this kind of huge legal team?
Well, what was quite challenging is that I was the legal advisor of teams that are based in jurisdictions where I might not have, or that not that experienced in these jurisdictions. For example, India and Pakistan and Turkey. Again, being qualified in Egypt and UK didn't help much, but it did give you, as a lawyer, you always have developed this kind of mentality of legal analysis.
Yes.
Having an LLM, for example.
Ask the right questions
Exactly.
in the right time.
So that's all you have to do.
Yes.
So you have to manage the team, understand how things work, and read between the lines.
Yeah.
It was quite challenging, I would say, but that would require a lot of skills that you need to develop by time. You cannot do that if you just relied on your job and what your job is giving to you. You have to develop yourself by yourself, and try to develop certain ways where you reach a certain level where the management would trust you with managing that kind of scale of team members. And I would tell you, I mean, there is an answer that don't want to say on this podcast, but
Go
you have to
ahead.
read that the BS
Yeah.
that's coming out of people. As lawyers, you do understand where people should be coming from, and how to deal with it in different ways. Um, and yeah, and that's how you develop that management skill. So because management is a skill by itself, and it's developed like any other skill.
I have a very important question to ask you about your clients. How do you prepare them? Because the switch from being a privately owned company into going to being publicly owned is a big switch. How do you prepare your clients to understand this change? Because taking them from that stage into that stage is quite a big change for them. And how do you communicate this and its consequences to your clients?
Well, going for as a public company, it has its pros and cons. So yes, while there you do uh, sell part of your business or issue new shares for the shareholders that are coming on board, uh, and getting the proceeds of that sale is quite one of the pros of why clients usually choose to go for an IPO. There is a complete separation between management and the shareholders and the stakeholders of the company. Management has to be governed in a certain way. There should be certain thresholds for disclosure and transparency. Corporate governance is quite a significant part of your day-to-day business, and therefore it's quite challenging when you get to prepare your clients for this. Now there are two levels of preparing or doing something we call as an IPO preparation. An IPO preparation means that you have to structure the business as a group to be reporting as a listed company. So that would require a lot of financial and legal restructuring internally as well, for and preparing the business from that aspect in order to deal with the regulator and the competent authorities to take the company for public. And then you have to educate the management. Um, when I say education, I means educate them from a perspective of how to manage the company as a public company. This There's a lot of requirements. There are a lot of legal restrictions and uh,
Declarations to be made to the public authorities and to
exactly,
the auditors in a completely different way than a private company, of course.
exactly, and as well as communication as well.
Yeah.
So there is a PR agency that has to be part of the IPO team in order to educate the management and the board. There is also a selection of independent board members as a regulatory requirement, and getting those independent board members to the management of the company is quite challenging for some businesses, because that means that those board members will have a saying on how to run the business. Now, getting the management and the CEO to understand the restrictions that they have on the business, and that this is no longer a government owned company, or this is no longer a family business, is also a bit challenging. But I can tell you this: business owners and the government are quite smart people, and they get the what they need to do very quite fast. And some of them are already board members on some of the listed companies. So when you come and tell them this is what you need to do, they get the catch very easily. So it's not as challenging as it's supposed to be, but it has its what dramas, I would say.
Did you get into transactions that started and because of these restrictions, the
I've
client
seen
have pulled
that.
out and they just decided not to go
That's
public?
true. That's true.
happened.
I've seen that happening.
Yeah.
Some of the clients did want to go for an IPO, and at some point, when they saw the level of regulatory requirements that they have to stick with, they decided not to go with it, and just tried alternative ways for getting the equity or the funds that they need to expand their business.
Do you love your job?
Uh, there's no lawyer that's always honest, but I do love my job.
Seriously? Okay. What's your answer then?
I do love my
You
job.
love it.
I do love my job. I mean, it's what I live for. I live for two things: my job and my family.
How do you see the future of the legal industry in the UAE?
Again, the UAE is unique in itself. So you have the international legal community, you have the local legal community, and you have the regional legal community. And because Dubai is being a regional hub, there is a lot of opportunities for a lot of lawyers. Um, Newcomers are coming in, international law firms are expanding. Now there is this competition as well with between, I wouldn't say competition, but there is also this business or the legal law firms and international law firms going opening in Saudi, and there's a lot of interest in the Saudi market. But I would say that Dubai will stay uh, Dubai.
As strong
As
as
strong
ours,
as,
yeah.
yeah, it's the most popular destination for everyone. Legal industry in the UAE will continue to grow a lot.
You're comparing Dubai to Riyadh, or you're comparing the UAE to Saudi?
Well, I'm comparing the legal community in Dubai
Yeah.
versus everywhere else. So because
Okay.
Dubai is a destination for a lot of international legal professionals who would want to come and seek an opportunity over here, versus the interest in Saudi at the moment becoming the number two destination as a whole, and Riyadh specifically, because of all of the projects that are going on there. But I would say that Dubai has still maintained its position. That doesn't mean that the market is not going to change. No, it's gonna expand. Let's put it that way.
Very good. The buzzword, or the most famous word that everybody's talking about or mentioning this word right now, is artificial intelligence, AI. What is your take on the legal aspects of the AI? How would it change our job? Or I will ask you again the question that a lot of people get asked: is it going to replace lawyers?
I don't think it's gonna replace lawyers. I'm a strong believer that it's not gonna replace lawyers. Now it's gonna reduce the number of lawyers in the market. Definitely. AI comes as a strong tool for us to give a comprehensive and adequate advice and support to our clients. AI is a tool that will help you enhance your skills, like decrease the number of typos and errors and grammatical issues in preparation, or give you further wordings to expand on, or stress on how explicit you want to give your advice. On the other hand, when I remember in the back days, or I read somewhere that in the back days when micro and the computers came out, people were all saying, okay, machines are going to replace human beings.
Yes, of
Well,
course.
what had happened is that it actually increased the number of expectations for clients, and it improved the level of service of lawyers. Now, in the days, I remember the senior lawyers that I trained with, they said that usually clients would send the letter that would arrive in 2 weeks, and then you prepare the quotation, send it back, and then hear back from your client in another 2 weeks with a confirmation to proceed on a matter. Then you start requesting for or preparing the legal opinion and get. So a matter that we conclude these days in an hours took them weeks to really finish, right? So that's how the machines helped lawyers to improve their skills. Now you get contacted by WhatsApp, by email, and it's become essential tools for me to do my day-to-day job. Now, going back to AI I have tested a lot of AI solutions, and I have seen what they can do and what they cannot, including ChatGPT, the version 4.0, others that I don't want to mention the name, but I've seen what they can do, and without your own skills, they can't really give you the answer.
I mean, reflecting on what you said, it is, I totally agree on all of it. And I have seen the technology taking over a lot. I told you in my father's office, I was 7 years old when I entered the law firm. So I've seen it all. I've seen the computers, I've seen the Windows 3.1, I've seen even before the computer, the typewriter. The skills back then for the employees, for the administration, secretarial, accounting, and lawyers were different than what we have today. I remember very well reading a CV of the secretary who used to work with my dad. She mentioned how many words she can type per minute. So that was a skill that was needed. How many words can she type? And I remember seeing the development in his office from the manual typewriter into the electronic typewriter. And when I asked her what's the difference between them, she said that the electronic one is faster, which means it will can help me do my job more and faster and so on. So I understand that the AI is just like technology tool, just like as you just said, everybody have to be equipped with skills to use this tool and to be able to benefit from it. It's not going to replace the admin, it's not going to replace the secretary, it's not going to replace the accountant or the lawyer. It's just going to get us to do the job better, faster, and easier. That's my take.
Fully agree.
So we're gonna play a game right now, very easy. No, so we are going to use the AI to answer a question that we will ask for you. So I'm gonna ask you the question, and I get your answer, and I'm gonna ask the same question to the AI and compare the two answers. So the question now is for you. Why do lawyers say things like "it depends" whenever you ask them a question?
Nothing is certain in this world.
Very short and straightforward answer. Nothing is certain in this world. So I'm gonna take the same question and I will ask it to ChatGPT. Lawyers often say it depends because legal matters are rarely black and white. Each case has its own unique set of facts, laws, and circumstances that can influence the outcome. This phrase reflects the complexity and variability inherent in the legal system, where small details can have significant implication. It's a lawyer way to acknowledging that providing accurate legal advice requires a thorough understanding of the specific situation at hand.
It's basically the same answer.
I like your answer. I actually will go all the time with your answer. It's the same, but more straight to the point. Yousef, thank you very much for coming, joining my show. This was your Legal Dose of Monday Legal. See you next week.